Welcome back to the show. We got another great one lined up. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. Remember, you can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com. And you can now join us in the Freedom Zone, ladies and gentlemen. Just click this join button to join directly on YouTube or down in the description box and join us on Patreon. Same price, two different places, but you get the same thing. Every daily video, 0 Google ads. That's worth the price of admission right there. Not to mention all of the extra content where we're covering geopolitical events and everything else that's worthy of a conversation. Join us inside. You will not regret it. Looking right here, $2.81 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 0.4. We see where Bitcoin is 85,400 plus, Ethereum 1,600 plus, XRP number 4 spot 216. We're up 0.7 on the 24. We're up 15.4 on the 7-day. Range of price very quickly between 209 and 218. I like that we're at the top side of that range. We'll keep an eye on it as we move through it. What I do want to tell you is we have found the solution. That's right. Digital asset investor and myself have found the solution that keeps you from worrying all night. I'm getting the best night's sleep since I've been in crypto for 7 years. This is not a joke. Not a joke. This is what I've been waiting for since I got into crypto. No more worrying if I've been hacked, if my transfers went through, or if my market orders are set correctly. Caleb and Brown have finally done it. They're providing institutional grade custody for my XRP and a real person I can speak with anytime I need support. That is unheard of in the crypto space. And it's every reason right there. There's your two big reasons you need to be with them. I know I am. And you don't have to worry about the fear of losing your assets or struggling with self-custody. Caleb and Brown is truly redefining what service should look like for everyday investors in crypto. This is a total game changer. Get the link, xrpwealth589.com, and go sign up and get started today. You're going to love it. You're going to love the white glove service they have. Just being able to speak to a human being is so refreshing. I can't even begin to tell you. Link underneath the video. Oh, it's so refreshing. It really is. It really is. Remember Brad Garlinghouse said this years ago? Take a quick listen.
I have said publicly before that I think 99% of all crypto probably goes to zero. But there is that 1% where I think that is focused on solving a real problem for real customers and is able to do that at scale. And that's going to be game changing. And I think that's going to continue to grow significantly in the decades ahead.
I think he's right about that one. And, you know, it's interesting because we're getting closer to legislation. But here's a look back at what it used to be like to go to a Bitcoin conference before they were chanting and cheering up and down that the government was adopting it. This is the art gallery at one of the Bitcoin Miami, I believe, back in 2019. Bitcoin maxis have come a long way. They went from down with the government to working with the government. Adults at Ripple knew that from the start. Here's a little reminder photo from Bitcoin Miami. I'll try to find a picture of the US dollar burning they had on the wall, which is really how DAI and myself met the Honorable Christian Carlo. We both agreed that having a burning dollar was not a good idea for the conference. There's no question. There's no question about that. What I want to say here to add to this is that we know that James Murphy, who I will be sitting down for an interview with, is now suing the Department of Homeland Security about the claims that Rana Sayad, special agent from DHS, had said years ago in front of the SEC and the CFTC and other respective government agencies from the U.S. that they went and interviewed the 4 Satoshis. And now James Murphy, thankfully, is suing the Department of Homeland Security to get to the bottom of it all. He said a reporter contacted him now that he's announced that he's suing them, telling him that he had looked into the Department of Homeland Security agent's odd claim about the 4 Satoshis that he is currently investigating. And he says the results of the investigation are in his new book, The Mysterious Mr. Nakamoto. And the book reveals that the Dorian Nakamoto, the guy that we've heard for years, is not Satoshi Nakamoto, is who they say is, in fact, Satoshi Nakamoto. And I have to align with John Deaton on this one. I don't want to be mean, he says, but is that Department of Homeland Security agent believed Dorian Nakamoto was Satoshi when he interviewed his wife? The bad guys have the advantage. That's really the truth. If an agent from Department of Homeland Security believes that simply the wife of someone said, oh yeah, he's definitely the Satoshi. Really? Where's the keys to the wallet for Satoshi? That would be a great way of showing that you're Satoshi, right? However, this is going to get looked into to a very deep degree. So hopefully we can get the answer. And listen, I'm fine with whatever the answer is. I just think everyone holding Bitcoin, whether they realize it or not, deserves this answer. And they should want this answer because there's real negative implications if they don't figure out how they're going to share who it is to everybody in the world. Here's Eric Trump, President Trump's son, one of them, talking about here, Bitcoin is one of the greatest stores of value, immediate liquidity, and an unbelievable hedge against real estate. And Eric Trump spoke about this in an interview because him and his family were personally targeted and debanked.
Again, that's why I fell in love with crypto. And I truly believe that Bitcoin is one of the greatest stores of value. Immediately liquid, an unbelievable hedge against real estate, and something we're really excited about. Again,
really excited about. Well, there's so much more to get sussed out here. Here's a clip from an interview with Scott Melker sitting down with Paulo Ardoino from USD Tether. And Tether CEO just said that USDT will be available on Bitcoin's Lightning Network, which is a layer 2 payment system that's had trouble getting off the ground. But let's hear what he says here.
I believe that it was deployed on Lightning. Is that correct? I'm not looking at it, but will be deployed on Lightning. Why have we not seen a popular stablecoin yet that operates on Bitcoin? And do you think that that could be the final boss if it really gains adoption?
So, brief history, Tether USDT started on Omni. That was a layer on top of Bitcoin. So was actually USDT was secured through the Omni layer on top of Bitcoin. That was the OG USDT. And as Bitcoiners, we started there. Unfortunately, the Omni layer had only very little traction, especially after smart contracts on Ethereum were born. The beauty of USDT on Lightning is that is the perfect way to do high scale transactions. The difference between Lightning, that is a peer-to-peer channel system, is a peer-to-peer layer 2, and everything else, like all the other layer 2s, is that any other layer 2 that you have on Ethereum, they have the same problem. They have a single share state, and usually they have a very limited set of validators. So for example, if you have certain stacks, you would have one validators or 3 validators that are forming a multi-sig, but usually in most of the cases, actually you have one single validator that is very, very not crypto, very, very not decentralized anyway. But anyway, every node in that layer 2 system would need to subscribe and keep up to speed with a single share state across all the nodes. Basically, every single node needs to see everything and know everything and need to know every single wallet balance and everything that happens in order to validate and be part of the network. The difference with the peer-to-peer state channels like Lightning Network is that I can open a channel with you, Scott, and we will keep transacting among each other. We can also enforce client-side validated smart contracts, and then we can go at the speed of light. We can get zero transactions among the two of us, and then when we are tired, we just close this channel and settle the difference, right? That is exactly how everything should be built, because it allows, I can have a channel with you, I can have a channel with another million people, and another million people can have channels with other million people, and I don't have to see your stuff. You don't have to see the stuff that you all the transactions that I do with someone else, right? So it's scaling is very important, and scaling only happens if you remove every centralization point. And in all layer twos out there, apart Lightning, you have a huge centralization issue. That is the validators and the single chair state.
Let me help here. They're trying to get the layer 2 Bitcoin Lightning Network to work like the XRP ledger. But why don't we just come together? Why don't we just come together and wrap all the pre-mined Bitcoin and put it on the XRP ledger and stop this nonsense and forcing people to pay to open trust lines on the Lightning Network, which is a joke too, and just have it be on the XRP ledger and get the advantage of the settlement time, the cost efficiency, the scalability of it. And you want Bitcoin to go to the moon? Do that. Do that. Stop acting like you're trying to discover the wheel. It's already, the answer's already out here. And it's embarrassing sitting here watching tiddlywinks conversations of trying to figure out, hey, how can we make a better Bitcoin network? Well, use the XRP ledger or some other ledger, you know what I mean? But the XRP ledger does have a decentralized exchange built into it, which solves a lot of your problem. Nonetheless, this is Perry Ann Boring right here. Shout out to her for this clip, founder and chair of the Digital Chamber. Take a listen to, I'm not going to play this whole clip, but I want to listen to the front of this.
Going back to the president's mission, if the US wants to be the crypto capital of the world, I think a part of that is we have to work with the largest companies in the world. Otherwise, how are we going to have the right infrastructure for the US to be that dominant market player, which may or may not be your goal, but that is Donald Trump's goal, and we want to support him at the Digital Chamber with achieving that. I mean, it kind of seems like it's the US's loss that Americans don't have access to the largest and deepest liquidity pools, which are on Binance.
You know, you said it very well. Given US ambition to be the crypto capital of the world, and as the largest crypto ecosystem globally, we want to be very supportive of that ambition. And I think together, we're going to see a lot of growth. I make it my mission when I became the CEO to really, other than making sure that our users have the best, most secure platform to trade on, with the best product features, other than working with global regulators to come out with standards and rules that really support the innovative part of crypto while managing the risk aspect, is also working with global partners to really embrace and support development and deployment in this space. Because the more that we can work and partner together to grow this space, the more dynamic this space is, everybody stands to benefit. So,
no question about it. He's absolutely right. And so is Perry Ann. But the starting with Binance and Tether, because Tether is the largest stablecoin provider in the digital asset space. Hands down, can't argue with it. I absolutely agree with this. It is time to bring the traditional financial world together with the largest industry leaders in the digital asset space together. No question. Acquisitions like Ripple buying Hidden Road are a clear signal that it is happening now. That's what I wanted to highlight, because I do think that she's right. You got to figure out whether Tether is going to be allowed in or whether it's going to have to restructure to become in to get inside the regulatory system and the financial system, or whether it's going to be pushed out and squashed like a bug. Let's figure it out. But I'm of the place now where it's like, look, the United States is dealing with tariffs. They're dealing with a huge tariff war with China right now. We don't know how long that'll go on. I would imagine, knowing that all of this is a prerequisite to moving the world and all of our money and finances and supply and trade onto a new digital on-chain economy, we have to understand that Tether may be allowed to live because the US dollar is under threat right now. And we may need Tether, at least for a moment, we need to be tethered to Tether to get all of the benefit of all the different entities facilitating the dollar in the new digital economy until we get the regulation in place. I don't know if that's right, but it feels right for the moment we're in, because there is no going back. Now, this is Cassie Craddock right here. This entire thing's fantastic, but I'm going to bring you in right here and let her play it out, because the whole thing's incredible, but we got to keep moving.
Led us down the path of owning that kind of end-to-end digital asset infrastructure. And so the custody technology was really critical for us to acquire back in 2023 because we know that custody is the entry point.
We know that custody is the entry point. We've been saying this for a long time on this channel. The foundation to getting the traditional economy and finance into the digital asset realm starts with custody.
Before you do anything in digital asset, whether you're thinking about tokenization, whether you're thinking about payments or thinking about NFTs or whatever you're thinking about, you need to get your custody right and you need bank-grade custody. And so that critical piece of infrastructure is something that's now enabling us to partner with banks and financial institutions for them to tokenize, for them to create use cases that maybe we don't want to lean into, but to be able to use our technology to do that. I think it's really important, and Adelia and I, we work, given that we're the largest developer on the XRP ledger, Ripple wants to solve institutional financial use cases, right? But we want to create ecosystems where developers are pushing the boundaries. And I think that's been really interesting to see how these developers or these financial institutions leverage our technology to be able to, I guess, drive the future of financial services forward.
One more clip.
User experience. Good user experience means that these, banks and financial institutions or consumers of these products, they need really good infrastructure to be able to power it. They need the right custodians, they need the right wallet, they need the right compliance tools to be able to really kind of power this on a truly global scale. And I think there are early signs and indications that both of these are in place, but I think we have we do have quite the journey to go in order to be able to really truly create this on a global scale.
And they're doing it, and they're doing it right now. That's what's so impressive to me. Signaling that a paradigm shift in the monetary system is coming? Ray Dalio.
I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And
yeah, he's absolutely right. And you know what? That's why I believe that this is a great signal, seeing Ripple acquire prime brokerage Hidden Road for $1.25 billion, knowing that they're going to settle $3 trillion a year in derivatives, because it's the largest market for liquidity. And if you're going to reset the monetary system and have a monetary shift, resetting the order of the monetary system, you're going to need access to the largest markets in the world. And it starts with Hidden Road and goes from there.
This deal to buy Hidden Road, $1.25 billion, what did you make of that?
Well, it's a big deal in the crypto world. That's Ripple's biggest acquisition. I think it's one of the biggest crypto acquisitions in history. And it really speaks, I think, to that idea of a prime brokerage in the crypto world. I don't think people really realize that they are in play in crypto, especially since FTX. There's been a lot of demand for sort of a trusted party to stand in between the wild ecosystem of crypto and your own accounts. And Hidden Road, it has a pretty good pedigree. Mark Ashe used to work for Steve Cohen at XRP and Point72. So a pretty fascinating deal. And to me, one of the really interesting elements of it is Ripple really seems to want to use this deal to broaden adoption of their own stablecoin. They're going to encourage the use of their stablecoin on Hidden Road as collateral and whatnot. So a lot of the stories in crypto these days sort of circle back to that stablecoin idea.
It's like an on-ramp, off-ramp for the hedge fund industry in a lot of ways into crypto assets.
It absolutely is. And I feel like right there at the end, she said it better than the gentleman said it. Look, this is really a massive step in the right direction. And I believe it is a reveal of where Ripple's going to go. This is much more than cross-border payments, ladies and gentlemen. Accessing the derivatives market for settlement on the XRP ledger is, in fact, the tokenization of traditional finance. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're going to the moon. Catch you on the next one.